The town of Maplewood was small, peaceful, and rarely touched by crime. That is why Emily Carter's disappearance shocked everyone to their core. She was just 17, a bright student who loved painting and dreamed of studying art in college. On the night she vanished, rain poured heavily, and the streets were nearly empty. Emily had spent the evening at a close friend's birthday party, laughing, eating cake, and promising her parents she would be home by 10. But as the hours passed, she never walked through the front door. Her parents thought she might have stayed a little longer with friends, but when midnight came, worry replaced patience. By morning, fear had taken over. Authorities quickly organized search teams. Volunteers, police officers, and even strangers combed through Maplewood's forests, abandoned houses, and riverbanks. Flyers with Emily's smiling face were plastered on every wall, and her story was broadcast across local news channels. Then, a chilling discovery was made. Her backpack was found lying in the mud near a broken streetlight, its zipper half open as though it had been ripped away in a struggle. Inside were her sketchbook and a few personal belongings, untouched and waterlogged from the rain. But Emily herself was nowhere to be found. Despite tireless efforts, there were no more clues. Days turned to weeks, and eventually, the case grew cold. For the people of Maplewood, life moved on, but for Emily's family, time stood still. Every empty chair at dinner and every quiet night reminded them that something terrible had happened, and the truth remained hidden. Nearly 8 years after Emily's disappearance, Maplewood was beginning to forget. The posters had long faded, the news had stopped covering her case, and the town buried the memory under layers of time. But everything changed when a construction crew working near the edge of the old warehouse district made a grim discovery. As they dug into the ground, they uncovered human remains. Forensic tests confirmed what everyone had feared but never admitted aloud. It was Emily Carter. The discovery reignited pain and questions that had never been answered. What disturbed investigators most was not just the remains but the way they were found. Clutched tightly in Emily's skeletal hand was a silver necklace. Engraved with the initials JR, these letters did not match anyone in her family or her circle of close friends. The necklace became a symbol of the mystery, suggesting that Emily had known her killer and perhaps fought back during her final moments. The town's whispers grew louder, turning suspicion into wild theories. People recalled secrets from the past, rumors of jealousy among friends, hushed stories of forbidden relationships, and memories of adults who had once seemed too interested in a teenage girl. The revelation tore open old wounds. Emily's family, who had lived in the shadow of uncertainty for nearly a decade, were thrust back into grief and confusion. For the police, the necklace became the first real lead since the night she vanished. It suggested betrayal, someone close enough to gain her trust yet cruel enough to end her life. With Emily's remains identified and the mysterious necklace raising new questions, detectives began piecing together the fragments of her life. Attention quickly turned to those who had been closest to her. Investigators learned that Emily's best friend, Claire, had once dated the same boy Emily was rumored to like. Old classmates recalled tension between the two girls, subtle arguments at school, and long stretches where they barely spoke. Some wondered if jealousy had turned into something darker. Claire insisted she had nothing to hide, yet her sudden decision to move away from Maplewood years earlier raised suspicion. Then came whispers about one of Emily's teachers, a man who had often been seen giving her extra attention after school. At first, it had seemed harmless, even supportive, but looking back, several students admitted the relationship felt unusual. He was questioned extensively, but without evidence, nothing could tie him to the crime. Even Emily's older brother, Daniel, could not escape scrutiny. Neighbors remembered hearing heated arguments between the siblings during the weeks leading up to her disappearance. While many dismissed it as typical teenage fighting, investigators now viewed it through a darker lens. Could jealousy, anger, or family dispute have led to violence? Each lead carried weight, yet each also dissolved into uncertainty. Every suspect had motives, but none had proof against them. As suspicion spread, the community began to fracture. Once trusted figures were now seen with narrowed eyes, and the sense of safety Maplewood once enjoyed turned into a cloud of fear and doubt. For nearly 2 decades, the mystery of Emily Carter's death remained unsolved. Files gathered dust, suspects moved on with their lives, and the community slowly grew numb to the unanswered questions. But then, a forgotten piece of evidence changed everything. An old security tape from the warehouse district, collected the night Emily vanished, was pulled from storage. At the time, the footage had been deemed too grainy and unhelpful, but with modern technology, investigators could finally enhance it. What emerged sent shockwaves through the case. On the tape, in the shadowy glow of a single streetlight, a figure could be seen dragging what appeared to be a body into the warehouse where Emily's remains were later found. The movements were hurried but deliberate, as if the person knew exactly where to go. When the figure briefly passed under the light, their build and stature became visible. To everyone's surprise, it bore a striking resemblance to the town's pastor, Reverend James Holloway. He had been a central figure of comfort during Emily's disappearance, leading vigils, offering prayers, and consoling her grieving parents. The idea that he could be involved seemed unthinkable, yet the tape painted a damning picture. Investigators began re-examining his past and discovered troubling inconsistencies. Records of his whereabouts the night Emily vanished were vague, and some details he had given years ago no longer matched. For the first time, suspicion shifted toward the man the community trusted most, and the perfect image he had built began to crumble. As investigators dug deeper into Reverend James Holloway's past, the carefully crafted image of a compassionate leader began to unravel. Behind the sermons and charity work lay a man who had lived a double life. Financial records revealed secret bank withdrawals, while phone records exposed late-night calls to numbers no one could identify. Even more alarming, several women came forward with stories of manipulation and secrecy, painting a picture of someone far more sinister than the kind-hearted Pastor Maplewood believed him to be. The strongest link, however, was to Emily. Hidden journals found in his study hinted at an unhealthy obsession with her. Pages described her in unsettling detail, and investigators realized he had grown infatuated with the teenager. When Emily threatened to reveal his behavior, he panicked. Fearing exposure, he lured her to the warehouse district, silencing her and hiding her body where no one was likely to look. For years, his reputation and influence had shielded him from suspicion, allowing him to stand at the center of community grief while secretly knowing the truth. The revelation shattered Maplewood. People who had trusted him with their confessions, their weddings, and even their children now felt betrayed. Emily's family was left torn between devastation and relief. At last, they knew who had taken their daughter, even if nothing could bring her back. The heartbreaking cold case was finally solved. But the scars remained. Maplewood would never look the same again, a chilling reminder that evil often hides behind the most trusted faces.